global fight against money laundering and terrorist financing, international cooperation and standards play a vital role. The Financial Action Task Force, FATF, an intergovernmental body, has emerged as a leading force in setting global anti-money laundering, AML, and counter-terrorist financing, CTF, standards. One of the key mechanisms employed by the FATF to access countries' compliance with its standards is the mutual evaluation. But what is the FATF Mutual Evaluations? And what is covered? In today's video, we will be taking a look at what are the FATF Mutual Evaluations, why does the FATF perform mutual evaluations, and what is covered within the FATF Mutual Evaluation. Hello and welcome to another KYC Lookup video where we bring you AML related content to help you enhance your knowledge in the fight against money laundering. Before diving into today's video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Oh, and don't forget to leave us a comment with any suggested topics you would like us to cover in the future. So, on to today's video. What are the FATF Mutual Evaluations? The FATF Mutual Evaluation is a rigorous assessment conducted by the FATF to evaluate a country's anti-money laundering, AML, and counter-terrorist financing, CTF, framework. It aims to determine a country's level of compliance with the FATF's recommendations, which provide a comprehensive set of guidelines and best practices for combating money laundering and terrorist financing. The primary objective of the mutual evaluation are twofold. Firstly, it aims to assess a country's legal and institutional framework, regulatory measures, and operational effectiveness in addressing AML and CTF risks. Secondly, the evaluation seeks to identify areas where a country can strengthen its AML and CTF systems, providing tailored recommendations to enhance their effectiveness. Why does the FATF perform mutual evaluations? The Financial Action Task Force, FATF, performs mutual evaluations on countries to assess and monitor the country's compliance with international standards in the fight against money laundering and terrorist financing. The primary reasons for conducting these evaluations are enhancing global standards. The FATF aims to establish and promote effective measures to combat money laundering and terrorist financing worldwide. Through mutual evaluations, the FATF ensures that countries implement and adhere to the recommendations, which serve as global standards in AML and CTF efforts. Assessing compliance. Mutual evaluations provide an opportunity to evaluate a country's legal and institutional framework, regulatory measures, and operational effectiveness in combating financial crimes. These assessments help determine the extent to which a country complies with the FATF standards and identifies areas requiring improvement. Identifying risks and vulnerabilities. The evaluations enable the identification of risk and vulnerabilities within a country's AML and CTF systems. By conducting a comprehensive analysis, the FATF assesses a country's capabilities in detecting, preventing, and prosecuting money laundering and terrorist financing activities. This information helps countries understand their weaknesses and take necessary steps to strengthen their frameworks. Facilitating technical assistance. Mutual evaluations also play a crucial role in providing targeted technical assistance to countries. The assessments identify areas where countries may require support or capacity building to enhance their AML and CTF efforts. The FATF can then offer guidance, training, and assistance to help countries overcome challenges and implement effective measures. Promoting international cooperation. Mutual evaluations promote international cooperation among countries in combating money laundering and terrorist financing. Through these evaluations, countries exchange information, share best practices, and learn from each other's experiences. This cooperation strengthens the collective global effort to prevent financial crimes and fosters a collaborative approach in addressing emerging threats. Safeguarding the global financial system. By ensuring compliance with international AML and CTF standards, mutual evaluations contribute to safeguarding the integrity and stability of the global financial system. These assessments aim to prevent illicit funds from infiltrating the financial system, protect legitimate businesses and consumers, and maintain trust in financial institutions and transactions. In summary, the FATF performs mutual evaluations to promote global adherence to AML and CTF standards, assess compliance, identify vulnerabilities, provide technical assistance, foster international cooperation, and safeguard the global financial system. Through these evaluations, the FATF plays a crucial role in strengthening the global fight against money laundering and terrorist financing. What is covered in the FATF Mutual Evaluation? The FATF Mutual Evaluation covers various aspects of a country's anti-money laundering (AML) and counter-terrorist financing (CTF) framework. It provides a comprehensive assessment of a country's measures and capabilities in combating financial crimes. The key areas covered in the mutual evaluation include legal and institutional framework. The evaluation examines the adequacy and effectiveness of a country's legal and regulatory framework related to AML and CTF. This includes assessing the implementation of international AML and CTF standards, the existence of appropriate legislation, and the effectiveness of enforcement mechanisms. Preventive measures. The evaluation assesses a country's preventive measures to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. This includes evaluating the implementation of customer due diligence measures, record-keeping requirements, and the identification and reporting of suspicious transactions. It also examines the regulation and supervision of financial institutions, non-financial businesses, and professions. Financial intelligence and investigation. The evaluation reviews the country's financial intelligence unit, FIU, and the capacity to receive, analyse, and disseminate information related to potential money laundering and terrorist financing activities. It also examines the effectiveness of the country's law enforcement and investigative authorities in conducting financial investigations and taking appropriate action. International cooperation. The evaluation assesses a country's level of international cooperation in combating money laundering and terrorist financing. This includes evaluating its cooperation with other jurisdictions, exchange of information, and implementation of mutual legal assistance and extradition mechanisms. Risk assessment and mitigation. The evaluation examines a country's risk assessment processes to identify and understand the money laundering and terrorist financing risk it faces. It assesses the effectiveness of measures implemented to mitigate these risks, such as targeted financial sanctions, asset freezing, and regulation of non-profit organisations. Supervision and regulation. The evaluation reviews the effectiveness of a country's supervisory and regulatory framework for financial institutions, including banks, insurance companies, and security firms. It assesses the adequacy of oversight mechanisms, including on-site inspections and off-site monitoring, to ensure compliance with AML and CTF requirements, and legal framework and international cooperation on counter-terrorism financing. The evaluation also covers a country's legal framework and measures to combat the financing of terrorism. It assesses the criminalisation of terrorist financing, freezing and confiscating of terrorist assets, and the effectiveness of international cooperation in this area. The FATF Mutual Evaluation provides a comprehensive and detailed assessment of these areas to determine a country's level of compliance with international AML and CFT standards, and to identify measures where improvements are needed. It aims to promote a robust global AML and CTF regime and ensure countries have effective measures in place to combat financial crimes. What are the results from the FATF Mutual Evaluations? The results from the FATF Mutual Evaluations provide comprehensive assessment of a country's compliance with international anti-money laundering AML and counter-terrorist financing CFT standards. The evaluation's results typically include the following: ratings on technical compliance. The FATF evaluates a country's technical compliance with the FATF's recommendation, which are the global AML CFT standards. Each recommendation is assessed for its level of implementation in the country, resulting in ratings ranging from compliant to non-compliant or partially compliant. These ratings affect the country's adherence to specific AML and CTF measures. Ratings of effectiveness. In addition to technical compliance, the FATF assesses the effectiveness of a country's AML and CTF systems. Effectiveness ratings measure how well the country's systems and measures are achieving the desired outcome on combating money laundering and terrorist financing. These ratings are based on a qualitative assessment of a country's ability to identify, investigate, and prosecute financial crimes effectively. Strengths and weaknesses. The evaluation report highlights the strengths and weaknesses identified in a country's AML and CTF framework. It provides an overview of areas where the country has demonstrated good practices and areas that require improvement. The report may include recommendations for enhancing the country's AML and CTF systems, addressing the identified weaknesses, and building on existing strengths. Follow-up process. Following the evaluation, the country is expected to develop an action plan to address the identified deficiencies and improve its AML and CTF framework. The FATF conducts a follow-up process to monitor the country's progress in implementing the recommended measures and to ensure compliance with international standards. Public statements and implications. The results of the mutual evaluation may lead to public statements by the FATF, which can have implications for the country's reputation and financial standing. A positive evaluation with strong ratings can enhance a country's image, foster investor confidence, and promote international cooperation. Conversely, a negative evaluation or poor ratings may result in reputational damage, increased scrutiny, and potential financial consequences. The results of the mutual evaluations are critical in guiding countries to strengthen their AML and CTF frameworks, improve their compliance with international standards, and enhance their ability to combat money laundering and terrorist financing effectively. These evaluations contribute to the overall global efforts in building a robust and resilient financial system that safeguards against illicit financial activities. Well, there you have it. What are the FATF mutual evaluations? Why does the FATF perform mutual evaluations? And what is covered within the FATF mutual evaluations? Please let us know in the comments section if you think that FATF's mutual evaluations are working effectively at combating money laundering and terrorist financing, and any other topics you would like us to cover in the future. We have now launched our very own courses for you to take a more in-depth look at a variety of subjects, such as Introduction to AML, Beneficial Ownership, and Customer Risk Rating, for example. So make sure you visit our website for further details. and let us help you connect the dots in KYC. Thank you for watching the video, and if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe to watch more amazing videos.